to talk about topics that are interesting to you and just help to enrich your life and your path to better overall health and well-being. Today, we thought it'd be great to have a registered dietitian come and talk and share some of her thoughts on nutrition myths for us. We have Angie, and she works with the BayCare fitness centers, and she did her study in Nashville and then really had a great time moving to Florida so that she could do her internship to become a registered dietitian nutritionist. She loves to show how to embrace that healthy lifestyle. And, she knows that it requires practice, but it doesn't have to be a chore when you make some simple choices and find the things that work for you. You want to be able to nourish your mind, your body, and your spirit. We want to get moving and do activities and choose foods that are going to make us feel and move at our best. So we're going to help you to strengthen your relationship with food and align your nutritional goals with a positive and healthy framework. So I am going to introduce you to Angie and turn it over to her so she can give you all the wealth of knowledge. Angie, it's all yours.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Like she said, my name is Angie, and I am the registered dietitian at all three of the BayCare fitness centers. I appreciate everyone tuning in for the presentation today. Just a reminder that all of this information is just for educational purposes only. It's not intended to be a substitute for any medical treatment by a healthcare professional. And speak to your physician, obviously, before making any drastic changes to your diet. So today, our topic is exploring common nutrition myths. Are you overwhelmed by the abundance of nutrition information out there? Today, we're going to closely look at a few of the popular diets or products currently promoting things like overall health, weight loss, decreased risk of chronic disease, or other health claims. So we're going to start off speaking about fad diets. What are they? Okay, moving into the research, and then onto our topics, starting with apple cider vinegar, intermittent fasting, the keto diet. Is coconut oil healthy? What about gluten-free diets, organic produce and meat? And then leave a little bit of time for questions and comments. So starting off, fad diets, okay? What are they? A temporary solution to what for many people is a lifelong problem. This means things like obesity, diabetes, general lack of nutrition education or understanding. Post-pandemic, I often hear people saying that they've packed on a few extra pounds during COVID. So it may be easy to turn to these fad diets in order to drop weight quickly, okay? What we call a quick fix. Instead, we should be focusing on healthy eating patterns and lifestyle modifications, okay? This is going to lead to our long-term health. Oftentimes, these fad diets are eliminating whole food groups, nutrients, or suggesting amounts well above or below recommendations. For example, keto, encouraging very high fat and very low carb. The global market for weight loss products and services was valued at $255 billion in 2021 and is expected to hit $377 billion by 2026. So when to be suspicious of these claims? When it's offering things like quick and easy weight loss. We know that weight loss isn't quick and easy. It takes time, we have to set reasonable goals, and a pill is not going to stand up to a lifestyle change with healthy eating and exercise. The next claim that you have to buy something, promoting a pill, a supplement, a powder, or a drink that will blast belly fat, right? Something that sounds too good to be true. Next, ads that use vague or science-sounding language instead of the hard data from research. Anecdotal endorsements, okay? Celebrity or first-person endorsements of the product, encouraging you to try this new product out on the market. And lastly, recommendations that are based on a single study. So is the source credible that we're getting this information from? We need to make sure that whatever research article or whoever is publishing this info has appropriate credentials and expertise. Anyone can become a health coach online in a matter of weeks to get a certificate. Okay, so it's important to get this information from the experts. Also, is it affiliated with a reputable university, research organization, or publication? So things like the American Heart Association, American Diabetes Association, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, US Department of Agriculture, or peer-reviewed research articles. Be smart when you're Googling something and look for those reputable websites and sources. So moving on, the first claim that we're going to speak about are the health benefits of apple cider vinegar. This is currently a very popular trend on the internet and magazines. So the claim is that apple cider vinegar is an all-purpose treatment with various health benefits, okay? It can affect things such as glycemic control, cardiovascular disease, lowering your cholesterol, and also used for weight management. So early records back from China, the Middle East, and Greece used vinegar for medicinal purposes. Things like digestion, antibacterial for wounds, treatment for cough. And even though this has been around for a while, it still remains pretty poorly studied, okay? So some of the downfalls of apple cider vinegar, it can erode tooth enamel. So if you're taking a shot of apple cider vinegar every morning undiluted, this can definitely affect your teeth. It can exacerbate acid reflux, GI upset, throat and skin burns. Also can have some interactions with medication, okay? And induce things like hypoglycemia, low blood sugar, or hypokalemia, low potassium. There are some positives though. It is a low calorie addition to salads, okay? It can add a ton of flavor to dishes and it can be used as a marinade. Going to the research. At this time, there's a lack of evidence to recommend apple cider vinegar as a use for treatment for any of these conditions, okay? But it is safe to consume in moderation. One noteworthy study, there were two, that showed a possible decrease in post-meal blood glucose when combined with only 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. So this could mean having a nice salad every night for dinner and including an apple cider vinegar dressing, okay? It doesn't have to be the extremes of taking shots of apple cider vinegar twice a day. Often these research studies are done on animals, okay? There are a small number of participants and we're unsure about the amount of apple cider vinegar that needs to be consumed to have any sort of health benefits, okay? So the jury's still out on this one. Next, intermittent fasting, another very, very popular trend. The claim is that intermittent fasting can help with weight loss, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and blood pressure, okay? There are a bunch of different approaches, but some common ones are alternate day fasting. So just like it sounds, not eating on Monday and then eating whatever you want on Tuesday and so forth. Modified fasting. This can consist of things like only eating 500 calories on your fasting days or fasting for 2 days per week. Then time restricted fasting, this is going to be the most common. This is where we're fasting for 8 to 12 hours per day. So this may be naturally a part of some people's diet, right? Oftentimes people skip breakfast. If you aren't eating since 7 o'clock the night before, this could technically be a form of fasting. So let's talk about some of the downfalls. Possible nutrient deficiencies, okay? Skipping whole meals, only eating 500 calories. This is likely you're not going to have a well-balanced diet, could lead to some possible deficiencies. It's also extremely restrictive, right? And then hunger pangs. We all know what it's like to be hangry. If we're not eating for 16 hours, this is definitely very likely, okay? Some of the positives. This may help people who tend to snack late. If you're the person that has that, 10 p.m. bowl of ice cream, using this type of fasting and cutting yourself off at 7 might prevent you from having that late night high calorie snack. It also may be more beneficial for those who typically skip breakfast, okay? Don't recommend this, but if you are that person that just breakfast isn't your thing, this may fall under the category of intermittent fasting. And it may help to reduce overall calories, okay? If you're giving yourself a window to which you can eat, you want to make sure that you're at least consuming the good calories during that time frame. According to the research, this is not a recommended treatment for weight loss or other conditions. It may pose a health risk for those with diabetes, eating disorders, people that have to take medication with food, people in active growth stage pregnancy or breastfeeding. And once again, Most of these studies are done with lab animals, so it doesn't translate necessarily to human studies. Keto, keto, keto. The claim, high fat, moderate protein, very low carb, okay? Less than 50 grams of carbs per day. So most people hear, oh my goodness, high fat and low carb. Carbs are bad for me anyway. This must work, okay? The claim is that it helps with weight loss, blood sugar control with type 2 diabetes. So how does it actually work? The mechanism is that when we limit glucose, which is the main source of energy for our body and our brain, our body will start to use fat and burn fat for energy instead of carbs. This is the state of ketosis. Very difficult to get your body into the state of ketosis with the mainstream ways that people are following keto today. So some downfalls. There's a concern for overall health. High saturated fat. It limits fruits because they're carbs. It limits grains because they are carbs, okay? It is known for a high fat content of 70 to 80% of our calories from fat. This is versus the traditional diet that recommends 25 to 35% fat. Keto can also cause flu-like symptoms, okay? The keto flu, upset stomach, headache, fatigue, dizzy spells, trouble sleeping, increased risk of constipation from no fiber, long-term health risk, kidney stones, liver disease, deficiency of vitamins and minerals. And once again, very controversial with regard to the high fat nature of keto. We're always told high fat saturated fats can lead to heart disease and then chronic health problems. Some of the positives, it is used to manage epilepsy and seizures for more than 100 years. So this diet is researched, okay? May be effective for short-term weight loss for some people. According to the research, keto is useful for managing epilepsy, but the research findings for treatment of obesity and diabetes are very limited. There is some research on Alzheimer's, but it relies on lab animals. And the studies are showing that following a keto diet, the results are similar to maintaining an overall low-calorie diet, okay? And might help in the long term in terms of consuming all of that fat. This is not recommended for those with pancreatic disease, liver conditions, thyroid, eating disorders, or any issues with gallbladder. Next, coconut oil. Speaking of keto, coconut oil is very, very popular in the keto and paleo diets, okay? The claim is that it can blast away belly fat. It can curb your appetite, strengthen our immune system, prevent heart disease, stave off dementia and Alzheimer's. But many of these health claims refer to 100% medium chain triglycerides, okay? So MCT. So that MCT oil is very, very different from the commercial coconut oil that we find on the shelves at Publix. Some of the downfalls, very high in saturated fat. We know that saturated fat increases blood cholesterol, increases that buildup of fatty deposits in our arteries, and overall increases the risk of heart disease. So the American Heart Association advised against the use of coconut oil and instead limiting all saturated fat. Recommended for no more than 6% with heart disease of total calories from saturated fat. So this equates to 13 grams of saturated fat on a 2,000 calorie diet. Do you know how much coconut oil a tablespoon comes to? 12 grams of saturated fat. So your entire daily value of saturated fat could come from 1 tablespoon of coconut oil. Some positives, though, in moderation, coconut oil can be used as a replacement for other fats when cooking. Rotate this in with your olive oil, canola oil, avocado oil, whatever it is that you're using, but watch your portion control. If using coconut oil, make sure that it's cold pressed, virgin, which is going to retain more of the nutrients. But remember, we want to focus on those unsaturated fats, things like olive oil, peanut oil, canola, avocados, flax seeds, okay? What does the research say? There are many health claims, once again referring to the research on 100% medium chain triglycerides. The American Health Association issued a specific scientific advisory statement in 2017 saying to replace all saturated fats, which includes our coconut oil, with unsaturated fats, things like olive oil. technically more heart healthy forms of fat than the saturated fats. Coconut oil has also been found to raise those LDL cholesterol levels. The 2020 to 2025 dietary guidelines for Americans says to limit your intake of these saturated fats to less than 10% of calories. So 30 grams a day of saturated fat, okay? So look at those labels, look at that saturated fat content in most of those products that you're consuming daily. Gluten-free, here's another one. Gluten-free was developed for people with celiac disease, okay? Celiac is a serious condition where the body attacks gluten, the protein gluten, okay? So it's autoimmune. Gluten's naturally found in many whole grains, and consuming these whole grains can cause a wide variety of symptoms from bloating to intestinal damage, okay? Very serious. But only 1 to 2% of Americans actually are diagnosed with celiac. Up to 6% have gluten intolerance, okay? So things like bloating, gas, much less threatening. But gluten products still topped 12 billion in sales, and a third of Americans avoid gluten. So why? Why would people without celiac or gluten intolerance choose to be gluten-free? Okay, the claim is that gluten-free can help with weight loss. It's healthier. Theories of increased energy, improved digestion, and clearer skin. Some of the downfalls, though, it can promote certain nutrient deficiencies, right? So inadequate intakes of fiber, iron, and calcium. A lot of those products that are naturally contain gluten have all of these nutrients in them, and we're completely eliminating them from our diets simply because we think it might be healthier for us. It may actually increase the risk of some chronic diseases. We're lacking in fiber, okay? Fiber has been shown to decrease cholesterol levels, soluble fiber, okay, which can help with heart disease. It may actually increase weight gain. A lot of these gluten-free products may contain high amounts of calories, fat, and sugar, okay? Marketing. The positives are that there's a large variety of gluten-free products out there for people who truly do have an intolerance or celiac disease, and it is helpful for those individuals. According to research, there's no clear research on the diet's effects on weight loss, okay, or for general health benefits. So it's not necessarily healthier. Whoopsie. The research is typically done on GI disorders, autism, and fibromyalgia, okay? On to organic produce, and this is going to be the last topic. So the claims about organic produce, that it's healthier, it has less pesticides, less or non-GMO, okay? Some of the downfalls, it's definitely more expensive, right? But there are some positives. Organic has the most specific criteria and legal meaning. So anything organic, from meat, poultry, eggs, and dairy products, come from animals that are given no antibiotics or hormones. Organic plant foods are produced without the most conventional pesticides, fertilizers, bioengineering, or ionizing radiation. And the government has to approve a certifier to inspect these farms to ensure that all of these standards are met, okay? Research shows that there is some data showing possible health benefits of organic foods compared to conventional, okay? And there are differences in those foods, but there is limited information on how to prove these differences that they actually have potential overall health benefits, okay? There is a place for organic or non-organic produce, meat, veggies, eggs, whatever it may be. I'm not sure if anyone has heard of the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. Okay, this is put out by the EWG. So it's a nonprofit organization. They put this list out every year. And this is showing the Dirty Dozen, if you can get these foods organic, it's recommended because potentially these can retain some of that pesticide or whatever fertilizers are used to produce these items. So if we look at the Dirty Dozen, strawberries are the number one that can retain a lot of that pesticide residue. Spinach, so your greens, kale, collard, mustard greens. Make sure that you're washing all of your produce very thoroughly, right? Nectarines, apples, our grapes, bell and hot peppers, cherries, peaches, pears, celery, tomatoes, okay? So all of these things, if you are able to get these things organic, these are the ones that you want to try and choose these ones. Clean 15. These are the items that generally are going to be okay if you get them non-organic. Avocados, you're eating the inside, right? Sweet corn, it has a husk on it. Pineapple, inside again. So if you notice, some of these items are things where you're not necessarily eating the skin. Remember, the skin is going to have a lot of that fiber. So we want to try and include that in our diet as often as possible. Onions, papaya, asparagus, honeydew melon, kiwi, our mushrooms, cantaloupe, mango, watermelon, and sweet potatoes. So remember, if there's a choice, I understand it might be more expensive. Those are the Dirty Dozen are the ones you want to try and buy organic from. But once again, it should not hinder or limit the consumption of any types of fruit or veggies. So before we wrap up and get on to some questions or comments, I just want to do a little recap. So the takeaway from this entire presentation, okay, is that there are a lot of health claims and fad diets out there. I just only named 6 of them, okay? This could have been a 3-hour presentation on all of the claims out there. Is Himalayan salt better for me than regular salt? What about honey versus table salt, right? It's important to do the research. Seek out knowledge from the professionals, or even speak to a registered dietitian to help you with your individual and specific nutrition needs. If you notice, a lot of these diets and health claims are not backed by scientific research and evidence. This does not mean that they don't work for some people. Some may have great success with things like keto or intermittent fasting. Your neighbor might tell you to try this new diet because they lost all of this weight. But this doesn't necessarily translate to the recommendations for the general public, okay? I encourage all of you to focus on eating a well-balanced meal filled with a variety of colorful fruits and veggies, increasing those whole grains, at least 50% of your grains from whole grains, consuming lean proteins, including those from plant sources such as beans, soy products. Limit your intakes of added sugar, added sodium, saturated fat, and processed foods. Okay, focus on those unsaturated fats. Include nuts and seeds in your diet, those plant-based oils that are heart healthier choices of fat than those saturated fats like butter and coconut oil. And make sure that we're increasing our physical activity. The 4 pillars of health: nutrition, physical activity, stress, and sleep. Okay, easier said than done. But in order to maintain long-term health and wellness, this is a tried and true method to developing these healthy habits and these behaviors that will lead to long-term health and wellness down the road instead of these fad diets. So that is all I have for you today. I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you learned something, and definitely will share this information so that you have these resources. And I thank you so much for listening.